I want to thank everyone for joining me today on December 13th for the first session for orders and our last session of the year. Our next sessions will be January 2017, with the first one of the year being on the 10th, that second Tuesday. So feel free to mark your calendars then. Today we'll be going over orders. First, recapping a little bit of what we went over last time, being able to go in more in depth, and that is converting a project over to an order, or the quote that you have to an order. We're dealing mostly with projects, as that has been what we've trained over in the last few ones. Also, projects has the most functionality in OASIS as far as the tools and features available to you. So it's highly recommended to utilize projects. If you haven't gotten into the introductions, if you received my email today, there was a link to a YouTube playlist that goes over all of the historical ones, except for the one from last week, which that should be up on the list here by the end of the week. Okay, without further ado, inside a project, there are a few things that you need to have in check and set up before you can convert a quote over to the order. They will at least save you some time in the long run. The first one is to have a customer. Now you'll want to select that customer as a winning customer. And if you have a distributor added to that customer, or excuse me, not a distributor, but a contractor, you'll want to select the winning customer-contractor combination. This is helpful overall, as we went over last time, in tracking your customer, your hit rate of what your customers you've quoted and which ones have actually won the job, and which is the best combination on the jobs in your area for your company. When you get the pop-up of what helped you to close the sale, you can describe what helped to that, or in the case of if it was lost, what caused you to lose the job. Were you too high, not able to meet a certain budget point, or other items that may have been of influence. You can populate the drop-down menu to have the winning agency not only be yourself, but others in your area and sister agencies that you're keeping track of. Okay. With the winning customer selected, next up is the pricing. You'll want to make sure your markup and lot price are blank. These cannot be filled in these cannot be filled in when you go to an order. If you have utilized these, which is perfectly fine and it's really helpful when you're in a crunch, but when it comes down to the order, you have to get the numbers out of these two blocks. Otherwise, OASIS has no idea how to place the dollar amounts to the order. They don't know which manufacturer it goes to, how much of it's overage or commission. So you'll need to make sure that these two fields here, the markup and lot price, are blank. And then on your items tab, you have all your pricing here. Don't forget to double check the pricing at the top to make sure the levels are complete. If your customer is set to a particular price level, that price level will be in blue. This is to help you make sure that you identify the level that is going to be ordered. If you noted, that customer first came in with the price level of level 3, so when I came to my items tab, my sale price was not blue. I'm wanting to order at the sale price, so I needed to change my customer to that sale price. That's helping me to prepare and make sure that I have the right pricing when it goes over to the order. Now, if your customer had counts, the quantities would have changed to match the counts, and the base quantity column would also be in blue, similar to what we see in the sale price column. That is just to let you know that there are counts that are affecting this, and so you can go through and verify that those are the correct numbers. If you utilized options on your quote, you'll need to make sure you have at least one win option. Win options are the only ones that will allow the material that is contained inside of it to go to an order. In this particular case, I have two options, one of them being a win option, one being a regular option. This means that only this option 2, these bottom 2 lines here, are going to go to the order. I'm leaving these top 2 behind on the quote for whatever reason. I'm staging out the project or just need to make multiple releases and I want to release them from the project itself versus handling it on the order. Okay. With our winning customer, our win option pricing, win option selected, you can click on Create PO. It's going to ask you to save changes. So go ahead and say yes, and then it gives us what's called what we call the staging screen. And this allows for you to create the orders from here. If you have multiple manufacturers, it'll show the manufacturers tab first, so you can select which manufacturer you want to create an order for. In this particular case, all of our material can be ordered on one order with Hubble, so it's immediately brought us over to the Bill of Material tab so that we can verify the information. On this Bill of Material tab, if there was one or more items that I did not want to order at the moment, I could uncheck those items with this checkbox here. Anything unchecked would not go to the order and would be left behind on the project so that I could order it at a later date or make changes and then order it again. Down here at the bottom, there's a couple of features that I want to note. First is the filter. If I only wanted to see for one manufacturer, choosing that drop-down menu and the filter for that, I can fill that down so I can just see those line items. This is especially helpful on large jobs where you have a lot of different manufacturers, and especially if you have manufacturers with child brands, such as the case with Hubble. If you're wanting to just see like the Columbia or Prescolite lines, you can filter out and just see those in the snip and then snip back and then change it back to none to see all. This hide no changes, this really doesn't make any difference at the moment since we're doing a brand new order, but as I'll show later on, that can make a significant change on how it looks like to you on the on the Bill of Material tab based on what's changing and what has not changed between the order and the project. Okay. Hiding the no change lines is really helpful because it helps to get the items that you aren't changing out of the way. But if you want to verify what has been and will be on the order, that you can also bring that back up. I have a lot of people that think that doesn't have information on the order, or maybe they've lost something in the transfer, and that unchecking can help them to find that back and get a little more comfortable with the situation of what's on the bill of material. Okay. Across the top here, we have the different columns: quantity, type, brand, catalog. And then you'll have the extended sell, extended earnings, and extended cost. Those are the first items. Each of these columns, there's not a preference for these columns. What you see here will always be here. So you can either expand the window to see them all if you have a large enough screen, or scroll across as I did. If you need to see the unit pricing, the unit sell, and unit earnings, that will show here. Cost will not show unless you're dealing with resale, in which case that is your purchase price from the vendor. So you'll want to make sure that this information is correct. And this allows for you to verify this separately before generating the order. Because if I click on cancel here, okay, I found an error on that, it takes me straight back to the project so I can make adjustments, verify the information, maybe take a look at notes if there are any, and see what's happened there. And then go back to the conversion screen and continue on once I'm comfortable with the information that's been updated. Select all, select none. And then last but not least on this bill of material tab is the sort by. I can't stress enough how much the sort by can be a win and loss in some cases for transferring orders to from the project into the order. At the very first time you transfer, it's not that big of a deal, but times afterwards, it does make quite a bit of difference. If you go by line number, if I had multiple fixture types, I had multiple C types but on different lines. If I wanted to order them on separate lines, going by line number would give me that separate information. If I don't care about keeping them on separate lines, I just need all of my fixture types to be grouped together. All my type Cs are exactly the same. And I may have 3 lines of 10, and I need to order 30. I can have that lumped together with the sort by. It's going to group by fixture type, then manufacturer, and sort by that. Then there's also the grouping of manufacturer, then by fixture type, allowing you to sort by. If this is your first introduction to the Create Order screen, when you have a large job, I highly recommend clicking on that Sort By drop-down menu, being familiar with how it changes your bill of material. And if you have any other questions, feel free to contact our support team, and we'll be happy to answer those on a case-by-case basis based on what you're seeing with that. But in short, line number is based on the line number of the quote itself. So if you are used to moving things around after you've created an order, line number may not be the best idea. Most of the time you're going to utilize the fixture type, then manufacturer type sort by. Rarely do I see anyone use the manufacturer, then fixture type, but it has been utilized in a few scenarios. So, and then line number, if you really, I don't recommend it if you change the project too much, but if you keep the project the same, from this point on, it's pretty much frozen in place for each of those line items. Line number can be helpful because if you change one line item to something else, then it can cancel the item for what was ordered and add a new line for the change that you created. So lots of different options that you have here just on this one tab, allowing for you to have more control over what's going to the order. I'm going to jump back here to the Manufacturers tab for a moment. On the Manufacturers tab, there is the PO number and manufacturer quote. This is helpful if you already have the information, especially if you're going to be creating multiple orders, having this go through the project, have your project be the master control bill of material for the entire job. Then you can type in the PO number and manufacturer quote number here for all of the manufacturers that you would have listed. You can also change the freight allowance right from here, from the auto-calculated amount to if it's allowed or prepaid and add, if it's a special situation. On the Order Entry tab, the Ship To field, before I dive into too much further into this, the Order Entry tab is for the overall job. So if you have orders that will ship to different locations, I highly recommend not using this tab to enter the information. But if your job site has one ship to location, if your job has one ship to location and that's what you're going to be doing for all your orders, you can save yourself some time by having it typed in here rather than having to add it to each individual order. Some keys or some shortcuts that we have available to you are addresses. These are the work group addresses that are available. This is especially helpful for resale type agents that you may need to have it shipped to your location before you rebundle it to ship it back out. Address book allows for you to select from any of your customers that are in Oasis. So maybe you're having, the main branch of the customer is ordering the items, but it's being shipped to one of the child branches. You can choose the child branch from here without having to retype excuse me, without having to retype the entire shipping information. So it goes back to keeping that information in Oasis really up to date as far as shipping, emails, and all of that, because it really can save you time and stave off carpal tunnel just a little bit longer in this by having that available and just selecting the customer that way. And then last but not least, you can click on Use Customer Ship To, and it would just immediately drop in the Customer Ship To address that was selected on the job. This order entry box, for those that work in orders quite a bit, this should look really familiar. The mark and call ahead. So mark, mark all types. You may notice on the right-hand side here, we have this little plus sign and a down arrow looking thing. That is actually our micro clipboard icon. If I click on the plus sign, I can add this as a new clip. If I check mark user, it's only going to be useful for me. If I uncheck user, everyone in the office can utilize this and have it available. Now, I'm going to blank that out so I can show you. Now when anyone goes through this screen, they can just click on this drop-down menu, click on type, and it's going to populate whatever I had typed in. Call ahead, same function. You type in your call ahead part note, such as CSR. Here's going to be the one handling the job, and any stamp that you may have. Once again, having that micro clipboard icon there. Just in case this accidentally gets sent, I want to make sure that they know that this is not live. Freight type and freight account. Lot net billing, if you need to make sure that your customer does not see unit pricing. Do not ship before and required on site. Let's have some fun on this. Okay. The work group, if you're needing to change it to a different work group, regardless of what the project work group is. And the work group right now is the default territory work group, which is what my project is. Typically, you don't want to touch this, but in the case that you may have a project that was created in one location and the order is actually for another location, you can change the work group right here before creating the order, and this is what the order will be for that work group. I'm going to keep it the same for right now. And then our end user PO, which is the contractor order number. Now this is especially useful, especially for the TOPS orders, as this triggers the TOPS programming and for them to be added to the TOPS list for your contractors to get that special features and information straight from Hubble. Now, item that we've added probably in about the last year or so is the alternate address. The alternate address is completely optional. You do not need to fill it in. It's not required at all. However, if you do use the alternate address, say maybe you need anchor bolts and templates to ship to the job site versus the warehouse that it's being staged out from, then that is exactly what you do. You type in the alternate address of the job site, and when you use an alternate address, you have to have the when to use. So you would place the alternate address and then the reason or when to use the this particular ship address, such as anchor bolts and templates, shipped to this address. Once again, we have the clipboard function, so if you use a phrase multiple times, highly recommend saving that into the database just to save yourself time later. Order notes. This one's pretty straightforward. We have the remarks that show above the bill of material. And the note field that shows below the bill of material. In this, we have our general clipboard icons and the spell check icon. So if we wanted to spell check our information, we could do that, and we can take a look at what it would have suggested for us by clicking on that ABC icon. And for some reason, it just doesn't want to suggest anything. But anyways, that's available there just to help you double check and catch any items. Once again, the information on this tab will go for every single order. So if you have specific order notes for one particular factory or bill of material, particular order, then you want to save that for after this stage. Otherwise, if it's for the entire job, save yourself some time and put this information in. Okay. Now, I get a lot of people that have confusion between the order notes and the shipping notes. Okay. Now, shipping notes are only to the manufacturer. And we'll take a look at those as a print on the order in a bit. Okay. Feel free to post any questions that you guys may have in the chat window. I am checking that, so don't be afraid to ask any questions as we go through this. All right, now that we've gone through all of these tabs, I'm going to go ahead and create the order. It's going to ask you if you want to change the quote status from order pending to ordered. I'm going to say no, because not all of my items have been ordered on the quote. I'm going to release the order. And as you can see, all of this information that I had previously typed in is populated and will be populated for all of my other orders that I create as well. Now, these two dates here, you see that they are in red. They're in conflict with each other. Do not ship before and required on site. If I uncheck one of these or remove the date, this kind of gives you a little bit of a highlight to show that there is more information there available, or that there's more information for you to take a look at. Specifiers that were on the project come straight over if we had any there. Definitely the distributor and contractor. One thing to keep in mind, if you are utilizing the auto email or looking to use the auto email, contacts that are added on the customer level and the specifier level will be sent an email. In this case, I chose the same person. That person will not receive two emails, but they will receive an email on the job. If I want my contractor to receive an email, I would want to make sure that I had the contact in the system along with a valid email address. And as long as their name is showing somewhere on these specifiers and then on this customer entry here, they would receive an email every time that there is a order status update. They would receive the initial acknowledgement, and if you have line level acknowledgments, for each new line that's added. And then after that, any order status updates from Hubble or any other factory as you manually update them. I get asked the question of how do I add multiple from the same customer? So if I wanted to send an email to 2 people within the customer, I would choose the contact and name here, and then the secondary one here within the specifiers field. This window right here on the order is what we have placed for special codes that you may create. They're actually called user tags, or some people also call them user keys. What it is we have a lot of fields on the order and other transactions of Oasis. However, there's sometimes situations that arise that need a checkbox or drop-down menu. A recent one that I've seen is Buy USA. Is it a Buy USA job or not that you want to track and report on? They're very handy for reporting because these fields are available not only to search by, but on the customizable listing you can even view what their entries are, so yes or no, or what the drop-down option is in those reports. They are created by an admin in Oasis through the configuration software section, and you have everything from a yes/no checkbox to a drop-down menu and an open text field. However, I do caution against the open text field, especially if it's something that you plan on reporting on, unless you're wanting that to use as a general note. But the drop-downs and yes/no checkboxes are very useful. The reason why a open text field usually doesn't work in a lot of scenarios is because everybody spells some words differently, and unless you are getting the words exactly right, you will likely lose or not be able to pick up on some transactions. So that's where the drop-down menu comes into really handy, where that you already have a pre-populated list and someone just selects that, or the yes/no. It's either it is a Buy USA job or it isn't. Since we have not sent the order yet, all orders start off with this yellow triangle, meaning that is in a non-transmitted state or a change state. In this case, it's a non-transmitted state. We have the create date, update date, but our transmit date has not been filled in because we haven't sent that to the factory yet. An order is considered non-transmitted if it has new items or changed items that have not been sent to the factory as far as Oasis knows. Okay. Other fields that are on this general tab screen that weren't on the screen before, order type. It's on since we brought this over from a project, it's automatically going to select project. But if you're creating an order from scratch, you do have the option to change the order type. And if there's an order type that you do not see on the default list, you can actually create your own special order types. However, do keep in mind that this is something you'll probably want to report upon. So you'll want to keep, it's recommended to keep the list as short as possible for ease of use. But if there's any specific types, such as sample or other type of order that you want to start tracking, you can add to this list. There are a few functionalities related to project and stock and EDI order types. So, such as EDI orders when they're brought in from Hubble, like you create an order from an invoice, that's considered an EDI order. It then allows for the invoices to be auto-applied afterwards and add new lines to it if you have certain general tab functions set up. So there are some little features with that. The project one, that goes, there's, if you are doing a project listing report or some others, we're grouping by project. Changing the order status, order type from a project can change that functionality where it's being defaulted to group by order type. So just kind of keep that in mind when you go, if you go to modify the order type listing. Also, it's recommended if you do need to add to the list, that is fine. It is not recommended to remove items from the list. The reason being is if I remove, I'm utilizing project right now, and if I were to remove or change the name of project, then if I remove it, everything that's now marked as project would be blank. If I changed it, everything that's marked as project would be changed to the new item. So I do caution on making some major changes to that, but adding new ones to that for specific scenarios that you need is perfectly fine in Oasis. The other option here is ship together. It's just a checkbox notifying the manufacturer that the items need to be shipped together versus sent in pieces. Entry date, not useful right now since we're putting it in, but if you're needing to backdate the order for whatever reason, maybe it's an EDI order or one that you've gotten late in the process, you can change the entry date here and backdate it so that it is useful for your reporting. Most reports in Oasis will go by the entry date of the order, not the create date. So keep that in mind. Okay, RMA handler, that is if you happen to have a return on this order, who's going to be handling the RMAs? A lot of times it's the same as the CSR, but in some agencies, if it is a different person, you can choose that person here, and then whoever opens up the order to review it knows exactly who to go to about the returns. The sales accounts box allows for you to set what sales account is going to receive the earnings on this job. In this case, we have one sales account that's getting 100%. If you have multiple sales accounts, it can be split out. It can also be automated based on what the customer and sales account assigned to that particular customer. In this case, we only have one sales account, so they're receiving 100% of the earnings on the order, or 100% credit, I should say. There is a behind-the-scenes split on the sales accounts that allows for you to set the percentage that they receive. So while they receive 100% credit on the job, you can continue to split out the earnings to where they only receive like 10% of the earnings and house keeps the rest. Okay. That would be covered at a later time, or if you need that sooner than later, feel free to give us a call, and we'll be happy to help answer any questions that you have about the sales accounts and the behind-the-scenes split. This closed checkbox here, closed sales and closed receivable, we're not going to need this right now, but just so you know, if I check mark closed sales, I'm stopping the order from receiving any further invoicing and for being on any type of backlog for invoices or any type of aged report regarding invoices. Receivable, if I check mark this, I'm closing the order from accepting further payment. I'm pretty much writing off any open dollar values and closing the order. With both of these checked, the order is completely closed and it's removed from any type of order backlog report in Oasis or aged invoice report. The Items tab, you'll want to check this once you get into the order to verify that all the information came over correctly, looks good, If anything is in red, hover over it. It'll tell you why it is showing in red. On the order, one of the things that the Hubble has done is they've added their stocking program, such as made to order or stock or quick ship 5, quick ship 10 items to that, so you can see right from here what the status is of those items. And if before you send the order to Hubble, you want to check the stock status of that, you can go up to the HLI menu, get stock status. And for some reason, it wasn't. Okay. All right. Well, today I'm getting an error. Typically, you would get the stock status, and you'd have your quantity, code, and warehouse information in this, so you can verify and even specify which warehouse you want that inventory to come from. That's especially important as now Hubble is also placing in this item stock statuses of discontinued items. So if they're completely discontinued or discontinued with current inventory, you can find out how much inventory is left, if they have enough to cover the order that you have, and if not, then start asking questions of your customer, making changes for that before you even send the order to Hubble, saving you a lot of time in the long run and hopefully a lot of headache as well with that. So it's very good to have this item stock column showing on your order, especially at the beginning. How to get that shown is through the File menu, Preferences, and it's just item stock is what it's called. If you have a default setting of Oasis, you probably will have it further down in the listing towards the bottom where you would have to check mark it and then move it up the list. Okay. All right, our addresses tab, we verify the sold to, billed to, shipped to, and alternate address. You notice all that information populated in, saving me time from having to type it in here or on all my orders individually. Accounting tab, that will not start populating until we have invoices on the order. Okay. Keep in mind the clipboard function. That can really help, especially if you utilize items over and over again. I want to jump back to the Items tab here real quick. I'm going to expand this so you can kind of see how this works on this. If for whatever reason you come into the order, you have a listing like this and you want to take a look at it and you wish the listing would be a little bit larger, then one thing you can do, right now I have it set at 100%. We have what's called a zoom bar at the bottom right-hand corner. And if I move this out, you can see my bill of material has gotten larger. Now this only affects the information right inside this Items tab. As you can see at the top, the font information did not change at all. But this can be pretty helpful, especially if I'm trying to show this to someone else on my screen. They may not be as close as I am, so I can just quickly increase the size of it, show them the information, and then as I need to, reduce that size back down. If you need to change font sizes overall in Oasis, that's actually done back on the home screen through the File menu and Preferences there. Further changes to that and that allows for you to change the overall font size of Oasis and then the font size of and type of the characters within the editable fields, making it easier for you to read or just more enjoyable to read as you can change it to whatever font that you choose. Problems tab, I'll go over this in a later session as we follow the order through an entire project. The revisions populates as snapshots of the order over time so that we can take a look at what happened with it. The revisions tab came about because every time you send an order out of Oasis, it submits a PDF file copy to the attachments tab. We were running into several scenarios with many of our agents where someone would send out something incorrectly, and then they would cover their tracks by deleting the PDF out of the attachments tab. So there was no proof of what happened and what was actually sent out, or maybe someone accidentally deleted something out of the attachments tab when they shouldn't have, thinking that they were cleaning it up for everybody. A lot of different scenarios happened of that sort, some innocent, some not so much. So we developed what's called the Revisions tab, which the Revisions tab, when I go to print the order, will put a snapshot copy of the order here in that current state for me to go back and take a look at it. It's not a place that can be deleted. No one can make changes to it, and it's pretty much just an archive of what has happened with the order and that snapshots. We'll come back so that you can see what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and print. Since we're utilizing the Hubble connectivity at the moment, you're going to have the option of Send Direct. And soon enough, you'll be able to do this. Most all agents will be able to do this for any type of order: release, hold, cancel, change orders. All will be able to be Send Direct with our new setting that's going about. And from what I understand, that will be much sooner than later. So be looking for an email that will come your way on how to get that set up in Oasis. What that will mean is that you'll no longer have to do what's called the agency holds, where you have to hold on to the order, or utilizing the agency hold option in Oasis, where you create the hold order in Oasis, and as you release it, it tacks on -REL1, REL2 to Hubble as they get that. So really going to add some, save you some time in processing that, and also too, you can just go ahead and submit the hold order and not even have to worry about it. And what it does is that hold order doesn't actually go into the SAP system. It will be held in the middleware, and so you can continue to make changes to it until you finally release it. And it allows Hubble to see that information of what's on hold so that they can do predictive tracking of what they need to anticipate, understanding that it is a hold order and can be changed, but it kind of gives them some idea of what's coming through the pipeline versus having to ask each agent, hey, what do you have on hold? Because you're currently not able to send at this time. So that's going to be that's really nice. As far as change orders, you still send direct. That doesn't go directly into SAP. Right now, the functionality is still the same as far as on the Hubble side. It just changes for the agent side, where you're sending direct on everything and not having to remember, oh, yeah, that one gets emailed. This one has a special case. You can still email your CSR as you normally would if you choose to. However, we're trying to streamline the process and make it as painless as possible. So you'll be sending direct on everything. Right now on change orders, when that send direct goes through, the middleware called HUE, short for Hubble User Exchange, actually emails your CSR on your behalf through its process. The advantage of all of this, having this go through the HUE middleware, is it captures the order and sends the information eventually goes over to SAP and remembers what state it's in, what has been originally sent, what it's been changed to, with the end goal of it matching much better for the order status. And on a preliminary test on the order status download, it is made a marked improvement with having all the order information available. We're still working on that, and that's coming down the pipeline. But the ability to send orders direct to Hubble for all of the all options is going to be available very soon, from what I understand. And so it should be sending your email. You should be getting an email pretty soon, probably by the beginning of next year. A customer copy, if your manufacturer requires a customer copy, if you choose the manufacturer requires customer copy checkbox on the manufacturer itself, this will automatically be checked so you don't have to remember to do that every time. So I highly recommend using that setting if your manufacturer truly requires it. If it's a special case and your manufacturer wants that customer copy with it, just check mark customer copy. Customer shipping status, in this case we're not going to utilize that, but if my customer wanted to have, okay, what's the shipping status of this particular order, I can print this from the order and email that directly to them rather than having to do that. Those that have the auto emailer pretty much are getting that sent out automatically for yourself. But those that do not have the auto email or the Oasis web portal, that can be very useful versus having to manually type up the information. As new order and suppress reprint of existing order message. This is helpful. This as new order. This is helpful in the case that if you made a mistake to the order and somehow set it as transmitted when you did not mean to, then you could submit the order as a new order and suppress the reprint of existing order message. Use that with caution. Make sure you're communicating well with whatever factory that you're sending the order for, because you do not want to make sure that you do not have duplicate orders created. And suppressing that reprint of existing order is supposed to help with minimizing the chance of duplication. And the as new order, rather than it looking like a change order or a resubmit of an order, it looks like it's a brand new order. In this particular case, this is a new order, so we definitely don't need those checked. But those are there for differing circumstances when you need the order just to be a clean, looks like new, and also get rid of the reprint stamp that goes across it. Okay. Other options that we have, sending order, office copy, internal change, and send direct. For Hubble, it's going to be send direct. If you have the option to send direct, I recommend sending direct. For Hubble brands that you know you can send direct and you do not see the option for it, contact our support team, and we need to get you set up for that for whatever reason, especially for our Canada groups, as they're just starting to be able to send direct with the regular SAP session. Sending order are for all other factories that you do not have any direct connectivity with Oasis. That would allow for you to choose the output to send message where you could then email directly out. Office copy would just create an office copy for your internal purposes. And then internal change, what the internal change does is that automatically sets the order as transmitted without generating any external, without having to go through the print process. So if I were to choose external change here, if I clicked OK, that's it. It would read as if it's been sent to the factory, and Oasis just assumes that the factory has everything at that point. So this can be helpful as if you're needing to make a internal change, especially something after the fact that's been sent to the factory. So look at this example. I have the 5% and 10% commission in red. If for some reason that was valid in Oasis, but then once it got to the factory it was invalid and I needed to make an adjustment because I have the commission incorrect, I can make that change, do a change to the order here, make those changes, and then set this as internal change. Now, since this is part of a larger project, I recommend going back to the project and making sure that is up to date and correct as well. If you're having to make commission changes or other changes to your orders after the fact, after it's been transmitted, I highly recommend asking the question of where did the problem come into? Is it an honest, the pricing that you currently have just isn't correct and so you need to update it correctly? Or did the quoter get it wrong, or the salesman set it up, or was there a larger quote that was forgotten about? A lot of times there's a pattern of miscommunication somewhere that can happen at the quote area, such as not having the manufacturer's quote number added to the order that bypasses that information. So then you're now set to your standard commission rates when you had a special quote for a better price. Asking those types of questions, while can take, especially after you're done with the initial issue at hand, while it does take a little bit of time out of your day, can save hours, if not more, later on as you refine the process and also type in the information into Oasis so that it can just automatically populate it correctly the next time. All right, so we now have the sending order window where we can send this direct to Hubble. You can verify the information. It's got the watermark of pending, letting you know that this is a just kind of screenshot. This window will also show any internal notes that you may have, but those internal notes would not show, do not transfer over to Hubble at all. Guaranteed, will not transfer ever. The internal note showing in this screen is designed to make sure that if there's any information captured in that internal notes, before you send this, you've noted that and have double-checked it. If it's, make sure all finishes and voltage are specified. If you don't have the voltage and finish on all of your parts, that's going to stop the order. So this allows for you to double-check that. Yes, I've got that information. It's ready to go before that. So it just gives you a last reminder before that happens. Now, sending over to Hubble, sometimes they need some extra information, maybe another PDF file or some other documentation added to this. You can actually attach another PDF file or other attachment to send directly to Hubble through this Add button here. You can then either pull from the Attachments tab or click on Select File to pull from your local computer. If you click on this little house icon, it'll take you directly to your desktop. If you want to flip through each of the pages, these green arrows allow for you to take a look at other pages within the PDF file. This button here goes to the last page. This button goes to the very first page. So if you have a 10-page order, you can flip back and forth between the beginning and end very quickly versus having to click on each one. There's also the zoom in and zoom out, and rotation if you need to rotate the image left or right to get a better view of it. Those shipping instructions that we typed in, you can see here, shipping notes to the manufacturer, exactly what we typed in. This will be sent directly over to the factory. Notes, the order notes that we had typed in before on the conversion screen. So shipping notes are helpful to the factory of special shipping or packaging handling that they need to deal with. And then remarks, as I said before, shows up before the bill of material, all this information being bolded. And since we typed in the contractor PO number, see here that we have a note to Hubble to code as TOPS. So that's triggered the contractor TOPS program. Okay. Then we can click on Send Now. And specify it as a national account. Is this using the distributor's address? Yes or no? I caution you with this. Either leave it blank or no in most cases, unless you know for sure that Hubble has the correct distributor's address. If you choose yes on this, Hubble will use the distributor's address that they have on file, not the one that you have typed into Oasis. So keep in mind on that one. That can be helpful in expediting the order and whatnot, but you want to make sure that Hubble has the correct information in their system before you choose yes on that. Okay. Then items, if you know which warehouse you want your items to come from, so you've already done the stock status information, you can specify the warehouse on the items tab that you'd like like those items to pull from. Okay. And then once you're done with this, you'd click OK, and that would send that direct over to Hubble. Since I'm actually using live information, I'm going to go ahead and click on Cancel. But what you would get if you clicked OK, you have this little icon, and where it says Failed here across the top, it would say Successfully Sent once it's complete. And then if you need, for whatever reason, a PDF file, a PDF file, or a printed copy, you can choose the output to and print the information that you see here out to have for your filing purposes that you sent that. Otherwise, if you're looking to go paperless, just click on Close, and you'll have in the Attachments tab. I'm just going to pretend, let's see. Now, I'm going to print this as if I'm sending it to a factory, not Hubble. So I'm choosing the PDF file send order, or you could also use the send message to email it directly to your factory. Now, once the order has transmitted and you've exited out of the either send direct screen or the send message, you will get a pop-up reminder of shipping status. Highly recommend having this set. I'm going to set this out to the future a little bit. That way you're notified on your home screen to get back to that order and check with the factory. Very useful for non-Hubble brands especially. And if you need to notify someone else, you can choose to notify either yourself, a complete work group, or select particular users, or notify all users of Oasis in your system. It can be super annoying that way. Okay, we're going to click OK. And that reminder gets set here to the Attachments tab. So now we have our PDF file that we sent to the factory that we can take a look at the attachments. The revisions, we have a new revision here. If we double click on it, we see exactly what was emailed out or sent out to the factory. And since it has been transmitted, our yellow triangle has now been changed to a green circle. Our items information has been locked so that we can't make changes to it until we initiate a change order. Okay, so we've gone over converting a project over to an order. In our next session, what we'll be going over is doing change orders from a project, as well as adding new material to an order. So pretty much for this particular order, creating a new order from the same project and adding new material to this particular order, creating a change order to send to the factory. I'd like to open the floor now to any questions that you might have. If there's any topics that we need to go back over, as we go through each of these sessions covering like change orders, hold orders, returns and RMAs, and order status, and all of the process that's dealt with in handling an order, we'll definitely make sure that we cover all the tools that are available to an order, and the tools here across the right-hand on the right-hand side that are showing to that. We'll also, once we get to order status, we'll dive more into the order section of OASIS and the tools available there for managing order status and shipping information. Okay, well, if no one has any other questions, I want to thank you all for joining me today, and I hope you have a very Merry Christmas.